Listen to me. Please listen. If you don't, if you won't, if you fail to understand, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
From city to city, an incredible hysterical panic spreads. As the unimaginable becomes real, the impossible becomes true.
Stop and listen! Stop and listen to me! Listen! Listen! Listen to me! They're not human! Can't you see? Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
And welcome to this week's edition of Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Brian Kazaskin. Beside me
is Ben Durant.
And Ben, today's show, we're going to have someone interviewing us for a change.
Yeah, we always partner up with a 25 Years Later site, and I thought it'd be fun to have Twin Pete's on. Hi, Pete.
Hey, guys.
And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a joint show, right? So we're going to have this show, and we also go to the 25 Years Later site and read Pete's article about
us.
And
there might be some bonus stuff on there, bonus content.
Sounds great. We'll be talking to some of the pod people, and you're our next participant. So thank you very much for joining 25 Years Later site in all of the ways that you do, engaging with us and helping us. And so I've got some questions for you that may be a little bit different than you've had before. Let's get right to it. How has your friendship grown as a result of Twin Peaks Unwrapped over nearly, I guess it's 3 years of weekly podcasts?
Yeah. So over the last 3 years, Ben and myself, we've known each other prior. I used to do college radio at the school he works at, and that's how I met him. And Ben was always supportive of our radio show. I did that with another friend of mine. And Ben would always come out and hang out with us. He was always supportive, and we became friends that way. And then when the big Blu-ray box set was going to come out, we've told the story a million times. Ben sent me a text. Hey, I know because I was doing a podcast at the time. He's like, hey, I would love to do a Twin Peaks podcast with you. The rest is history, but I think, we knew each other, we were friends with each other, but I think doing the show over the last 3 years has definitely, we've been closer. We know a lot more about each other. We've shared hotel rooms with each other, long flights together.
Right, like almost a day in the airport.
Yeah, a day in the airport, our flights getting all messed up. And somehow we didn't kill each other. And I think we've become better friends. And I think we know each other's quirks. We know each other's strengths and weaknesses. And I think we always compliment each other.
What's interesting is, I don't think I had your phone number before we did this podcast. Really, I guess I texted you, but I don't...
You did text me.
I texted you, but I don't remember. I guess it wasn't regular. It was one of those things I would see you and it's like, hey, there's a video game coming out. We might talk about a video game or you would have something. But it wasn't... It wasn't every day, and it was very... it wasn't a regular thing.
No.
And then once this came out, it was almost every day we're texting each other. And it's not always about Twin Peaks. It's about just whatever we're interested in, movies, TV, video games, and things like that. And I definitely think of you as a close, really good friend, and I really enjoy hanging out with you. And it's one of the things I look forward to in the week is doing this show. And I don't know. I just have a good time, and I'm always amazed 3 years later you're still doing this show with me.
I know. You're like, Brian, how the hell? What happened?
Yeah, why are you still doing this? But I mean, so there's definitely a closer friendship through this show, and I really enjoy hanging out with you every week.
Yeah.
How have you each changed as Twin Peaks, David Lynch, Mark Frost fans? As your podcast focus shifted over the years from that veteran newbie rewatch, and now you guys do interviews, analysis, roundtable discussions, community rewatch, unseen Twin Peaks, all of that. So how have each of you changed as fans?
Well, I mean, that's such a broad question. I mean, as a fan, I've changed because I've gotten older. I mean, I was 15, 16 years old when I first watched the show, and as you get older, and I have 3 children, and like I almost feel like I sympathize with the Palmer family even more and what they had to go through. And like as a child, I guess I'm just kind of like, oh, that's scary. But now you kind of look at, well, these are characters that have gone through terrible things, and I sympathize, and then I think it's horrific. And I guess I feel how much more real it is once you have your own family, how like the tragedies and the difficult things and these things that even the town has gone through. So I guess I kind of look at Twin Peaks different than more of just like, ooh, I want to see what this mythology and Cooper, and I kind of look at like, wow, there's these real people out there that have gone through heartbreak, and how do they struggle, and so I mean that's part of it. I think I've changed through that.
So I would say for me, getting into David Lynch, Mark Frost, and the Lynchian world, it's made me appreciate filmmaking and television making a lot more. I love odd, quirky films. I love the odd, quirky TV shows, and Twin Peaks is something I always want to get into. I think getting into Lynch's work and appreciate has made me. I'm watching current shows and older shows now, and just seeing the influence of his work and Mark Frost's work as well, influenced filmmakers and TV creators right now, and I think that's awesome. And I think sometimes you have to go to the past to appreciate the future, And I think getting to Lynch's work is like a history lesson, and it just broadens your horizons about different things and elements, and it makes you appreciate it more because you know where it's coming from, whereas before I didn't, and now I really see the influences, and I think that's a work of art, and it's like it's an education. This podcast was an education for me, and I'm sure a lot of fans who listen to our show, and I think that's what I've changed.
Right. And I think for me too, it's sometimes I get so inspired by other people, and I think I've said this before that I'd rather be a producer for the show. Like I don't even know if I want to be in front, be in the front here talking. I love the idea of hearing other people. I mean, of course, John Thorne, who he comes on the show and he inspires me and he makes me think of this world differently. And then all these different people from 25 years later cite you guys, you writers. Like they all have these creative, great ideas that I had never thought of. John Bernardi and his like earthquake time shift thing, and it's like I still think about that regularly. I'm like yeah. So it's like I think what I change as a fan, just hearing from other people and it inspires me, and it makes me relook at Twin Peaks every day.
Yeah, I want to follow up a little bit. It seems that over the last 20 plus years at least, when Cheryl Lee gives an interview, she always makes it a point to talk about how the events around Laura Palmer's life and the tragedies and the horrors, that happens to people in real life. And I think it's really important for us as we get older to not just look at the Twin Peaks as an escape from reality. It is the reality. And I think back to I forget what the original tweet was, but somebody said something about what does Twin Peaks the new season really mean, and I put something that I thought was really heavy duty and said it's about the passage of time and how we can't get that back and how we have to live our lives to the best of our ability and what we can do. And it got a like from Mark Frost, and I was like, okay, I think that of course everybody has their own takes on what's actually happening.
Yeah.
I think though an underlying theme, if you want to talk about that, is the passage of time and how we it just slips away from us if we're not careful. And back to the original point that Cheryl Lee and you just brought it up, Ben, that We have to look at these through different lenses now. We have to look at these through our lenses as parents, and that now that we're older, it's I think as important as it ever was, maybe even more so. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Speaking of lenses, I look at the Diane podcast as looking at Twin Peaks, David Lynch and Mark Frost through the lens of anthropology and folklore, counter Esperanto through the lens of the weird and the eerie. Now is your turn. Okay, guys. Twin Peaks Unwrapped looks at Peaks, Frost, and Lynch through a blank lens. What kind of lens do you look at it through?
I would say the community's lens, because we've had so many voices we've invited, and to piggyback on what Ben said, he likes to produce, but I kind of see this show as a reflection of what people are posting online or talking about, and 25 years later, or any blog post, Maya, Scott, all these people, I think our show reflects that back onto everybody, and it gives them a megaphone, a podcast to talk through, because I think we love having people on to talk about their points of view and what they're doing. So for me, I would say community.
I agree. I do agree with that. I think if you hadn't said that, I was thinking of like a microscope, because I mean, we always have these comments like, you guys go into the weeds. I can't remember if that's a compliment or a complaint that we go into.
It's a double-edged
sword that we do. Sometimes we go really deep in and like, okay, we got to get the script and we got to look at what could have been, or we do these things where I was really fascinated with. Supposedly there was an actress who was going to play Diane, and that was debunked. But I still want to go down that road and say like, well, that was covered on entertainment news and stuff, so let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is when we do our own shows, we're going through this microscope, and then a lot of times you're right, we have this megaphone for the community.
Yeah.
It's a service that we all appreciate, and I do believe that you're not alone in wanting to know about the actress who is going to play Diane. And I do believe that in light of the, I'll put it in quotes, events, because who knows what's real and what's not, but that the events of season 3, I mean, it takes on a whole new meaning now too.
Yeah.
What is Diane? Who is Diane? And it's a whole lot different now that season 3 has come out. So
true.
It's both the microscope and the megaphone are perfect ways to describe those type of lenses and approaches. Who are your Twin Peaks and non-Twin Peaks social media and podcast favorites for content, inspiration, and support?
I would say for Twin Peaks, everybody I've met, which would be a laundry list. But I mean, John Thorne, Scott Ryan with a Blue Rose magazine, everybody who does that 25 years later, you guys, having JC on, all these people, Maya's blog, everybody, I visit these sites or read these magazines or read these blog posts, and it makes me think about my past and different things, and I love it. I love that stuff. So that's my inspiration for Twin Peaks. And also Dear Metal Radio, Diane, of course.
You're just going to list everybody.
No, and Sparkwood and 21. Those are and Red Room podcast. I got to give it up to Red Room. I listen to them regularly because they're always putting a show out, but it's not just Twin Peaks. Non-Twin Peaks inspiration. It's weird. I've been listening to Tell 'Em Steve Dave, which is a spin-off of Kevin Smith's. It's his buddies at the Secret Stash in New Jersey. I've been listening to their podcast since the beginning. And Walt Flanagan always has these crazy ideas about game shows and all this crazy stuff. And that would inspire me when I was doing my other podcast to come up with crazy stuff. And now with this show, editing, when I listen to their show or some other podcast's show and I hear the different things they're doing in editing, that inspires me to up the game when we do our best of shows. When I had Scott Ryan on, we did the Letterman-esque show. I think that would be the major show that inspires me to think outside the box when doing editing, content-wise. But I listen to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of them are just talking, just plain talking. But Tell 'em Steve Dave is the one that's always interesting. They do weird, interesting things. So that's content for me. But for support, not to sound cheesy, I would say it's Ben. Because I think we continue going.
You listen to Twin Peaks Unwrapped and say, that Ben, he's something else.
But your passion to go every week,
yeah.
I think, has ignited the fire in both of us to continue. And, we're both human, so some weeks Ben or myself are not feeling up for it, but I think the other will get us out of that funk to continue. And yeah, we've missed a couple weeks here and there, but overall, I will push Ben or he will push me. He'll get me excited and I'll get him excited. And I would say, ultimately, that would be it.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer your question, but since you talked about that, for me, Brian, there definitely has been some times where I'm like, I'm getting burnt out. Like, it's just like family and work, and like, how do I keep this going every week?
Mm-hmm.
And then, Brian, you'll be like, I'm gonna get you access to on the air episodes, and we're gonna cover on the air, and that kind of like gets me excited. It's like, yeah, we haven't talked about on the air yet, and so that's where Brian comes through, and like where I'm like, oh, I think I'm burnt out, I can't do this anymore. And then you're like, well, we haven't covered this. It's like, yeah, we haven't, and stuff. So that's cool. But I mean, it's interesting for people that sometimes support me on Twitter without even maybe they knowing they support me in their own ways. Like, I think that Maya from Twin Peaks blog and JC from 25 Years Later site, when I see their stuff, like Maya's just posting something like happy birthday to somebody, or a lot of times she seems very much to me like a cheerleader. Like she's one of the first people a lot of times who will like one of our posts, or
definitely.
It's really I always feel like she's there, and that means so much to me every day. And JC, it might not be even related to me, but she'll be like, "Hey Kyle, how you doing?" She'll be so I can feel her energy and excitement with the community, and that really uplifts me. And it's like, yeah, and I'm always like, why am I outspoken more? Why don't I go say hi to Kyle or something like that? But those people are people that every day make it exciting to be part of this community. A podcast that I love. I mean, I really am in awe of Counter Esperado. Like, man, these guys are smart and they did their homework. And like, I think it was Carl, it might not have access to some of his library stuff anymore, and I think to myself, I gotta get him access. Like, I work at a college, maybe I haven't contacted him, but it's like, maybe I can find a way to get him access, because this guy deserves to have access to like a library of stuff, because he's so smart and he does the research. And so those people inspire me, and they're just amazing. And I wish he could come out more regularly, but I love their work, and
it's amazing when it does.
And let's try. What else did I miss? So we said support, and I guess I didn't say about non-Twin Peaks people. I don't know. I'm not sure about non. I'm so into the Twin Peaks. I enjoy Mark Frost for both not talking about Twin Peaks and talking about politics. I get a kick out of that on a regular basis. Same with Harley Payton.
Yes, I love them both. I think. In a Twitter timeline, I love to see Mark Frost popping up, because now, since it's been a year almost to the day since season 3 wrapped, there's less Twin Peaks content on Mark Frost timeline. And it's all, to me, it's all fun, and even though the topic is sometimes sobering. So.
The actor who plays Jacoby, Russ Tamlin, he's new on Twitter, and that kind of excites me again. That
he's great.
He's out there, and like every once in a while he'll be like, "Got some questions? I'll answer them." And I'm like, "Whoa!" Like he's. To me, he's kind of like shaking up the community a little bit, and I know he's out there because he's got a memoir coming out. But I'm really excited. Like, here's somebody that was a Twin Peaks actor that we never hear from, and all of a sudden he's in our space, in our world, and that to me excites me. I'm just waiting for him to come out again and say hi or something.
Yeah, hopefully he'll do a book tour and continue to interact with us. And
right. And I'm sure just like 25 years later, they're like, how can we get an interview with this guy? Like, we should be able to get an interview to talk about his book whenever that comes out.
Yeah.
Hey, if someone's going to make it happen, it's Andrew, okay?
Yeah, my gosh. I talked to Andrew, and it's like, how do you get all these interviews? Like,
he's good.
He's great.
He's inspiration.
No, I was going to say, I agree with you. Andrew is such inspiration. When we're talking about inspiration, it's definitely Andrew and Scott Ryan. Both of them are like so hard at working, and I'm impressed with how they go and get these interviews and the time and research they put into these interviews. It really is inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
And just a little bit of behind the scenes, Andrew is so supportive of the other folks on the team who want to branch out and try some different things like interviewing. And I've gotten a chance to do that, and with not just his support, like go get them, but here's a method that I use, and here's somebody else who's on the team who can help with that, and it's been really, really good. So I think what we're seeing through the answers to these questions is, even though it seems that we're sort of a closed community, it's the most open community of all, and it's all about something that we're so passionate about.
Totally agree on
yeah.
that one, yeah.
And one more thing about, connected to Andrew, but also connected to 25 years later site, that you guys inspire me too. Like, it was that recently with
Dwayne Dunham.
Dwayne Dunham. Wow, to get that interview with him and that's so cool. And I can't keep up with all the stuff you guys put out every day.
It's insane.
But when I see that, I just step back. It's like, wow, what a great interview. It's so cool that he got that, and that makes me want to go another week with this show and say, well, maybe we can get him, or we can get somebody like him, or we can do our own thing.
Yeah, you think about it, the Twin Peaks community, we're all doing our own thing, but we're not competition with each other. You look at someone else, what they're doing, you're like, man, I want to do something like that.
Right.
And they're probably doing the same with us. And I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
I think that's great. We push each other.
Right.
We don't even know it, but we're pushing each other to be better at what we're doing.
Yeah. And we say we're partners with 25 Years Later site, but it's almost like we're partners with everybody in some ways. We really do. We are like a family in our own way.
Yeah.
One of the other things I was going to add, too, is that when you get to meet the people behind the Twitter handles or the Instagram handles or the podcasts, it is truly, when you see the family come out, it's something to behold. And, the three of us have had recent experience for Festival of Disruption, and I can't tell you how nice it was to see and talk to people and just have a meal and a couple of sodas with people that just share the passion, share the love.
I agree.
Definitely. That's the best part.
It's so true. And I think we say it all the time. It's like you go to these festivals, these different events thinking like, oh, I want to go see the stars. And most of the time I leave thinking, boy, you know what? The best time was hanging out with friends.
Always.
Talking about Twin Peaks. And that was like, it wasn't like meeting Krista. I mean, I love Krista Bell. She's wonderful. But it was like, you think about, it was great meeting her, but it was really how powerful it was just to hang out with friends and just have a good time together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which Twin Peaks theories stir your imagination most?
Ooh.
I can start with that.
Yeah, you can do
And it's so fun. I haven't been able to do a show on it, but I really think about sex ritual.
You really are stuck on that one.
I'm obsessed with this one where I know
It's a weird one to be stuck on.
and I've been thinking about it even more.
What's going on,
I'm
Ben?
going to share this because I don't think I'll ever get it out there. But
All right.
but it's interesting that Cooper came into this world in season 3 into Dougie's world right after Dougie had sex with Jade.
Yeah.
So to me,
true.
there was a sex thing, and then there's a sex thing while the glass box, and then we have Diane and Cooper together, and they're having sex, and then it's which Frost? Mark Frost's book. I'm trying to think which one it would have been. The Secret History of Twin Peaks. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they talk about the whole idea of the sex ritual thing, and they would go out into the desert, and basically when we had Mark Frost on, he said I was onto something, that I was close to this, and so I think a lot about that. There's some kind of rituals in the desert, and maybe it opens up a dimension that lets these evil creatures out, or maybe it lets Cooper into the world or something. I don't know. So I'm constantly obsessed with it, and then we have I can't think of the name, but there's the author there that he had to do something to do with rituals. I can't think of his name right now, but he's in the Secret History of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
But at some point, I got to put it down on paper or something. But that's what I constantly thinking about, the sex ritual.
Well, things we learned about Ben today.
I don't know. There's something there. there.
There is something there. You're right. I'm only picking on
You mind if I put that as sort of like a little quote before the
Sure.
you.
say I've been thinking a lot about
Sex.
I was thinking if I did a show, it would be like, let's talk about sex. No, let's talk about sex ritual. But it's like, what is it? Is
Baby
it
in parentheses. Let's talk about sexual rituals, baby.
Yes. Let's talk about
You and me.
No.
Let's talk about Cooper and Audrey.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Actually, you could do clickbaity, Pete. You could do a clickbait. You'd be like, Ben thinks about sex rituals. This and more. Or, you'll never believe what Ben thinks about.
Wow.
Yeah. You do clickbait this one.
Man.
They open it and it's just
Undressed. Twin Peaks Undressed.
Yeah, Twin Peaks Undressed.
Twin Peaks after
dark, yeah.
After dark, yes. How about you, Brian?
Two theories that have always rattled in my brain around and around. John Thorne's dream theory, which I still love, and that inspires me, that theory a lot, to just think about different aspects. Not just dreams in general, and not just saying that Firewalk with Me could be a dream, part of it, but dimensions. And I think that goes into my second theory that, like Ben, I gotta put it on paper. I gotta get a big wall, some string, and a lot of photographs.
Yeah.
And I gotta figure this out. And it's hard when we do a podcast to sit down and do something like this because you're always worried about your podcast. So one day I'll get to this, just like Ben will get to the sex dream, the sex thing. But mine is, in the beginning of season 3, I was saying I really felt like they weren't on this dimension. They weren't on Earth. We were in like this parallel universe, this parallel world of Cooper. The whole Dougie stuff, he had to get out, and I kind of felt like, that stuff wasn't really happening. In a sense, it wasn't happening on Twin Peaks land. As the series went on, that theory kind of fell apart for me. But now in retrospect, I'm thinking it could work with the parallel, these layers. It's a layer where Cooper has to go, and, it's Cooper's Odyssey, the whole series there. So I think it works, and it connects with John Thorne's dream theory, for me anyway, and I'm still figuring it out. And hopefully one day I'll be able to kind of do a show and lay it out there. It's like I gotta rewatch 3. I'm almost done season 2. I gotta rewatch 3, and I really gotta.
Well, you know what we had talked about? I just love sharing this with the audience. But we had talked about when season 3 had ended, we were going to do the Fireman's Corner, and it was going to be a weekly segment about these different theories.
Yeah,
it's a lot, though. I mean, I give so much credit
lot
to you guys and like John Bernardi, who can come up with all these theories, but I feel like it's one of those things I need to think long about. I need to write, and I don't think I could do it on a regular basis.
I know, it's tough. You guys make it look easy, and we're sitting here.
Much kudos to John Bernardi and the rest of the team who take the time and have the talent, which of course I do not have, to sift through all of the research and think about the theories and present them in a coherent way, whether it be on on your podcast or through the site. I enjoy them, and I found, though, this is just a little aside, that for me personally, I tend to get the most out of discussions about theory is almost like sitting at a booth in the Roadhouse, talking over a beer about some of this, rather than trying to rack my brain over it, because it might kind of drive me a little bit crazy, just because I think I would get really into it. I really enjoy being able to pick one from over here and one from over here, and they're not mutually exclusive. Neither of them are wrong. It's that is the beauty of what Mark Frost and David Lynch have created through this, is that we can do that and not have a fear of being judged on how we take a look at it. Does that make sense?
Totally. I think that's what's the great thing about this. Nobody's wrong, nobody's right. and everybody's very respectful about what you think.
Right.
And
Totally.
I think, and we add to each other. You like John's theory makes me think and go in that direction. But other people might go in a different direction. But at least his theory got you to think about it.
Right.
And other people's theories.
So I love it. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about, real quick, I'm still thinking about finding Laura. Like, I'm almost haunted by the idea of finding Laura still. And I almost want to go back through the whole season 3 with that idea of finding Laura, because at the very end of season 3, we have what's her name? Carrie Page. Looking at the house, and we hear Sarah Palmer saying Laura, and it's like what was that? That's from the pilot of Sarah Palmer going up the stairs looking for Laura. She's like, "Where's Laura? Where's Laura?" And it's like that's when I think she wakes up and she screams. But it's like I'd love to go back in that frame mind of saying, okay, we're still looking for her. We're still haunted. 25 years later, we're still haunted trying to find her.
Yeah. The layers.
I think we're gonna continue to be haunted by that. No matter how long it takes, no matter what happens in the world of Twin Peaks, is that we still that is a truly haunting proposition to think about. What. Is there an what actually happened, or is there there's just so much open-endedness to it. So yeah, I agree. So I'm going to give you a little curveball here. How about ranking the podcast grind from easiest to hardest? Okay, so this is not a philosophical conundrum. This is just rank it from easiest to hardest. Ready? Okay. Booking guests, putting out a weekly podcast for several years, or waiting 25 plus years for Twin Peaks to return. Which is the easiest and which is the hardest?
Booking guests, waiting 25 years, and what was the middle one?
Putting out a weekly podcast for several years.
That's the hardest.
It's got to be the hardest one, right? Putting out a weekly one. I mean, like,
'cause we're doing it even if we don't have a guest.
Yes,
that's hard.
That's hard. That's got to be the hard. I agree.
Coming up with content, figuring out what we're gonna do.
Right. That is downright the hardest thing, right? Especially because we've gone. I mean,
what else can we do?
We've done. It was 30 episodes or so from the original series. There's the film, and then there's this 18 episodes, and so we've gone way past all of that, and we're still going. So that is sometimes, and I think even right now it's hard because like sometimes we get ahead and we can bank some shows, but now we're like just put them out week by week, and it's a lot.
Yeah, I would say
so. That was hardest, and then we have booking guests and
waiting. I would say booking guests would be the second, and waiting is the easiest part.
You didn't wait 25 years,
right?
I know. So that's
it's strange. That's a strange question because I did wait 25 years, but there's days where life went on and I didn't think about it, and like I would tell my friends, it's coming back someday, it's coming back, and everybody would say, no way, it's not. And I remember a friend finally said, boy, you were right, it came back. But it wasn't like every day I'm thinking, why isn't it here? It wasn't like me and like, is Cooper coming back in this episode?
Yeah.
It was kind of like life went on. So I do think only because if somebody said it will come back someday and I had to wait 25 years, then I think I'd be more frustrated. But I kind of wasn't sure, and life went on. So I guess that's easiest.
Who's your favorite, all-time favorite Twin Peaks Unwrapped guest, and why?
For me, Shirley Fenn is probably one of my favorites because I guess when I was a kid, I had a crush on her, and she is special. And I love her attitude. She's somebody who'll say anything. She will just speak her mind, and I love that. And
she did.
Really though, I mean that. Yeah. So I think that, and if I can get a second favorite, it definitely would be Mark Frost because to be able to talk with the co-creator of Twin Peaks. And he was pretty open with us, and I thought that was really special. I can't remember which one was more nervous. I might have been more nervous for Mark Frost. I don't know. They both were pretty. It was pretty nerve-wracking.
I would say Mark Frost was definitely one of the biggest gets, and one of my favorites as well. My second favorite is Sabrina Sutherland because she was on our show twice.
Yeah,
she's super nice,
and she's got the information. She's got the goods.
I know.
She knows stuff.
She knows stuff. Last week, we had Jennifer Lynch on, and I would say that was one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Hands down. I was super excited for that one, and I was very nervous, and what a nice individual, and it was just the perfect interview for me. I don't know what it was.
You have background with is it The Walking Dead or the
She's directed a lot of shows I've watched, and it was really cool to talk to her. Yeah. So there you go, Pete. Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Yeah. And that's 3 years in the making. I've been, trying to get her on the show for 3 years. So that was like a long time coming. So that would definitely be high up on my list too, as a real fan favorite.
What are your plans for the next 25 years? Like, what are you guys going to be doing over the next 25 years?
Well, we are planning when we turn 50 to do a Lost podcast.
Twin Peaks Unwrapped is going to go. It's going to go.
It's going to be Unwrapped. It's going to be Unwrapped, the Lost edition.
Yes.
Unwrapped Legion edition.
I really want to go back to Lost big time.
We have to go back.
We have to go back.
We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back.
Unwrapped.
Pete, have you seen Lost?
I have not.
Okay, then that we have to go back thing doesn't mean anything to you.
Dharma Unwrapped. Dharma
It makes
Unwrapped.
me excited. It makes me excited. So
it's a good show. If you had some time,
when we hit 50, I think I think in 25 years, I don't know what we're gonna do, but I
don't think
say,
we'll be doing Twin Peaks Unwrapped.
Yeah, I think at one point we'll slowly stop Twin Peaks Unwrapped.
If I can get you 3 more years just to get to finish off the community rewatch, the community rewatch is going to probably take about 3 years. So I need 3 more years of you, Brian.
All right.
3 more years.
One thing we've started doing is not beating ourselves up if we miss a week. We've come to terms that sometimes a show may not happen, and that's okay. And I think our audience understands that. So once in a great while, we might miss a week.
Yeah.
But I kind of see Twin Peaks Unwrapped slowly just sputtering, just kind of like, oh, here's a show.
We're going out in a bang.
You know what I'm saying? Like, here's a show.
We're ending the show with David Lynch. Our David Lynch interview.
Yeah, it's going to be a musical. And that sputtering in that sense, sputtering like, less, not every week, but more sporadic. And then if we decide to do the Lost thing at 50, we'll be back with a whole new show.
Yep.
Under the same...
The Unwrapped. Lost Unwrapped.
Dharma Unwrapped.
Dharma Unwrapped.
That would be kind of cool.
Dharma has to do with a lost community or something. Yeah.
We'll be 50-year-olds. Then we're opening Lost cards. We'll have
Everybody
David
does know
Lindelof
that I'm
on.
older than you, right? So we won't be 50.
We both have to be 50, right?
Right,
Do we?
yeah.
No, I think you have to hit 50 first.
Thanks.
We haven't figured that part out. Semantics, I don't know.
I just keep hoping they make new seasons.
You'll be opening your Lost cards, but you'll need you'll need some special things to open them because your fingers will be all arthritic.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I'm way ahead of you guys in age, so I'm feeling it already. When we were opening our cards tonight, I felt like it was a struggle, but anyway.
So did you guys plan that? Did you guys plan to open your cards on the same night that we did? Was that part of a thing? It was just coincidence.
It wasn't part of a special ritual. But
it's like, wow, Twin Peaks Unwrapped is opening them. Let's all open it.
That's what Ben's hoping to hear. Just say it.
You just say it. That'll make my day.
No. I just didn't want you to think it was one of your rituals that you're.
Oh no! It's not a sex ritual. Oh no!
We're all unwrapping our packages on the same night.
Yeah. Oh no! He's gone too far.
It inspired us because we bought the I went to a local comic book store and bought the packages on the day they came out.
That's cool.
The guy was really cool, and said, "Oh, here I'll." And he gave me a discount on the Laura Palmer card. The one that says "In Loving Memory."
Oh, we didn't even get that card. We're supposed to get it with our boxes.
I got nothing.
He said it was a case topper, so anybody who bought a case,
I didn't get a case. Good for you.
Is gonna get it. So he sold it to me. It was marked 15. He sold it to me for 10.
Nice.
Which was fine.
Wow, that's great.
But I mean, it was probably, I don't know what it's worth, but I guess the thing was that we were between being busy and afraid we didn't open the boxes at all. And then when we saw that you were doing the unboxing tonight, I said, oh, let's go ahead and do that. So while you guys were about halfway through the first box, we pulled the box at one of our 2 boxes out and started opening them. And so we had a good time. And you know how we've been fans since the beginning, and we have our Star Picks cards. So we had a good time opening them up, and we were pleased. I don't know when we'll open the second box though. Maybe that'll just stay closed for a while.
Cool. It's like Christmas.
Yeah. I like want to imagine everybody who knew we were doing this tonight, just like, let's open our boxes tonight. We all had a shared experience, which is awesome.
That was great. So actually, I should probably have rephrased that last question. Instead of what are your plans for the next 25 years, what are your thoughts on the possibility of Twin Peaks continuing?
I really feel like it's going to continue. I really, really do. Part of it is like, I'm so amazed that like some of the cast has gone to Australia, and they're still seem to be active at these Comic-Cons, and maybe it's just that's what you do. But to me, it seems like there's still energy. There's still something in the air that tells me this isn't over. I don't know. It doesn't feel. And then Lynch kind of hints at like, oh, I still think about Laura and things like that. And I keep thinking it doesn't feel over to me. So I feel like there's a good chance. Here's the honest truth. I think there's a good chance for one more season. That's it. One more, or a movie, but I feel like there's a good chance they do one more season and that's it. And it's over and stuff.
I'll go opposite. I don't want to get my hopes up. So for me, I love the ending. I love season 3 a lot. And I personally would say I could feel a movie coming out of David Lynch. Definitely a movie. Maybe with or without Mark Frost. I don't know. Maybe he would go sort of like Fire Walk with Me and just do something on his own. But I would hope Mark Frost would be part of it. But I feel like Lynch needs to live life right now. He needs to do his own thing. He needs to do his art. He needs to do maybe a Netflix movie or series. He needs to do other things to get that juice flowing again. And I think he might come back for one more round of Twin Peaks. Personally, I think maybe more of a movie. But I don't think we'll have to wait as long. And if he's doing other things, it's Lynch. It could be a little bit long. So I think we both feel like there is that Twin Peaks energy still in the air, and it's possible.
There's still music in the air. There's still something out there.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's ready to be done. I don't know. What do you think, Pete?
I think there's a good possibility. There are too many hints for me that match up with a lot of what was done before the season 3 was announced. I think some people have pointed out on social media, probably on Twitter, that David Lynch was really into painting and art installations at different venues around the world during the run up to the announcement, which if you look back, they were already working on it well before the announcement.
Oh, yeah.
So for him to say, well, I'm just painting, doesn't necessarily mean he can't do more than one thing. And I believe that there's, clearly an untold story or two. I'm not sure that a movie would work, only in the fact that, you'd probably be limited to like 2 to 3 hours. And I think more like a 6-part miniseries might be what could be done. I guess it really depends on him and Mark Frost. It really depends. I mean, the actors are all game for it. I think one thing that I would look forward to see is, the fact that there hasn't been a big auction of Twin Peaks items from the sets from season 3.
Yeah.
There hasn't been, you haven't seen those things kind of hit eBay or seen an auction announced. And until that happens, I think they're kind of in a suspended animation until something gives, and I think something will give. The thing that I like about Twin Peaks, that forget about actually new Twin Peaks, I think there's just so many things that can be released based on the old Twin Peaks. I mean, we get it. Did you get the calendar?
Oh, I haven't ordered it yet. No.
Brian,
so
was it for Christmas? Brian got me a Etsy.
No, there's
I know there's a legit. I know there's one like a Showtime one.
Yeah,
but you did get me an Etsy one. Was it Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really awesome. But yeah, there's so many items, and Shokai, I mean, they can keep on putting out items.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where are more of our pop figures? I thought they were supposed to come out with a second set of pop figures there. I don't know.
So.
They were supposed to. I want more items.
Well, and I think there's also, everything from the pop items to there was clothing, there was, I don't know if you ever saw that picture that I took of myself. I have like a Twin Peaks ugly Christmas sweater.
Yeah. Nice.
Awesome.
So I mean, those things are out there. Realistically, though, it's a relatively small fan base, and but I think it's a passionate one, and we're definitely fortunate to get what we've gotten so far, especially after the 25-year wait. And I think it'd be good to see something come out later, but I won't be heartbroken if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right, well, that is the list of questions that I had for you guys. So I think, and that probably needs to be edited because I didn't really want to end that way. But how about this? Are there any other things that you can share that you're working on that might inspire the listeners of your podcast as well as the readers of our site?
Well, we started, and we're going to continue on the air.
On the air. I think we have 7 episodes. We've done the
pilot.
The first one.
Yep. And it's interesting. We've gotten some interesting listener feedback from that one. And some people it's not their favorite thing, but they're saying it needs to be done. And I, on a personal level, feel even though David Lynch's most popular things is still worth talking about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are going to get back into community rewatch. We haven't done that in a while. I've been just dragging my feet a little bit, but at some point I got to get. I mean, and Pete, you're always a part of that, which I love that you've been involved and you played like Sheriff Truman there. I think that's so awesome that what you've contributed, and it's really just been me. I haven't really sat down, looked over these scripts, and say, okay, what are the nuggets that we want to use, and then send them out to people to be a part of it. So I want to get back into that. It's just I don't know what it is.
It's a lot of work for Ben. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for everybody. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I haven't been in the right maybe mind space to like do it. But I really want to get back into that because we can't end this show until we've gone through all the community rewatch.
Oh my God. And we're getting ready, for our big best of episode.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing: it's not even it's just barely September right now. But
I've already been thinking about it.
But we're already thinking about December, and like we do get to this point when we get closer to the holidays that we start really planning our shows and getting them all ready. And so I know you're ready. It's September, and you're thinking already about the holidays, Christmas holidays.
Yeah, and getting ready for the best of show is my favorite thing. And the last 2 years we've had Scott Ryan host it, and he will be hosting it again.
Has he agreed to this?
Yes, he loves doing it. He loves it. But I'm not going to spoil anymore. It's going to be a surprise.
Do I even know anything about this?
You do. We talked about it briefly. I've told you my idea. This is the time we start figuring out who's going to be on that show and hammering out the details. And then that's my big project. And you got Community Rewatch, and we got On the Air.
We've got our live shows, and a lot of times JC from 25 Years Later site is part of that.
Yeah.
And she's starting to bring some ideas. I think she said she wanted to do something for October. We'll have to ask her more about that. Horror films. But I think that's all she said to us is horror films. Is she relating that to David Lynch horror films or
maybe we don't know.
I don't know.
It's a surprise.
That's all she said. Horror films. So somehow that's going to be related to our live show in I think October.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that.
Fantastic. Well, on behalf of the entire 25 Years Later site crew, I want to say thanks for participating in this Pod People podcast publication, simulprint event, and we always enjoy teaming up in any ways that we can to keep supporting this community. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you for thinking of us. It's really nice of you to reach out and ask us to be a part of this. And we love working with the 25 Years Later site, and we really like working with you. And you're a great friend, and thank you so much.
Yes.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pete, from 25 Years Later, for being on the show and interviewing us. And us, it's kind of nice to have someone ask us questions. It's kind of cool. And if you have a question or thought or theory, give us an email at twinpeaksunwrapped@gmail.com. You can like us. You can follow us at the old Facebook or Twitter, Twin Peaks Unwrapped, and give us that 5-star review. Subscribe to us on iTunes or on Google Play. And heck, if you got the Spotify going, we're on Spotify as well. Check us out, twinpeaksunwrapped.com for all your Twin Peaks needs.
And we'll see you next week.